796-5555, Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our sports-loving ladies, Lauren Brooks and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Hey, show me what you got, pretty lady.
I almost said Happy Friday, Taylor. This day is Thursday, though. Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, where we celebrate our country's independence way back in 1776. And you and I got the memo.
We did.
To wear red, white, and blue.
Yes. I love America, so...
I love America so much. I have a bracelet that says USA. I also have one that says America.
I immediately woke up this morning and was like, which route do I go? Because I have several... different types of this. This is just like a red, white, and blue shirt. I've gotten probably some former 4th of July that I wore to some party or something. And then, but I did just get a shirt that I'm going to wear tomorrow. And it's like the quote from Legally Blonde where she's like, you look like she's something about wanting a hot dog real bad and you look like the 4th of July. I can't remember the exact quote. So I just got that shirt, but I was like, I'm going to wear that tomorrow, so I can't wear that here. But I immediately was like, do I go that vibe or a Cubs vibe, because the Cubs obviously have the red, white, and blue, right. So I can always rep that on the 4th of July too. So yeah, I love that. But immediately I was like, I have to wear red, white, and blue today.
Yeah, we went to two of our friends' birthdays are today. Happy birthday, Johnny. Happy birthday, Beth. We went to a birthday gathering for them last night, and it coincided with the U.S. men's national team playing as well. So I started the red, white, and blue last night, continuing it today because we have a little cookout here at 1010XL. Thank you, Max, for grilling out for all of us.
Did you have your little, you have that longer? I love that. I do have that.
I'll save that for tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know what you call that, like a caftan maybe or something, but it's
almost
more
said Shaw, but I was like, I don't know what.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to describe it. But yeah, it's more of like a cover up, and that is very loud. Yeah. I wore that here a few years ago with some red, white, and blue in addition to it, because we had a contest of who could look the most, 4th of July patriotic. And I did win.
You did.
I barely edged out Graham Marsh, but I did win.
He came on. I remember that was a fun 4th of July that year because we did kind of push it. Like everybody try and wear your red, white, and blue. And the majority of people actually participated, which it's hard to get to people to participate here sometimes.
I don't know why it's so hard. All right, let's get into some Jaguars football. And by the way, be safe, everybody out there. No, yes. I'm not your mom. I'm not, trying to tell you what to do, what not to do, but definitely be safe this weekend. All right, so we have over-unders for Trevor Lawrence and for Travis Hunter. We'll start with the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. The over-under on yards, 3,700 yards. I'm going over with that. You obviously have a little bit more hesitation at times when it comes to what's gone on with Trevor's career to this point in time. How would you play that?
I'd say that line is about right. Okay. I would expect.
So that's for people not doing math in their head, 217 passing yards per game if he played all 17 games.
Yeah,
so that's on the low side to me.
Yeah, but I think we're going to run the ball a lot more this year, and so I don't think it's technically a bad thing if that happens. It depends. There's more to the story than that yard number. Yeah. I hate just judging quarterbacks off their yards because I think that when you go through and you look at some of the more successful years from some of the players, they don't have 3,500 yards, especially if you have that balance with the run game. And so I don't think technically if he only has 3,700 yards that it's a bad thing. I still think he could be very efficient. The offense can be very efficient. So that's not me knocking Trevor. It's just more so of what my expectations of this offense may look like. And when you look at
running the ball is a good point.
Yeah. And I do think he's obviously hit 4,000 yards twice in 2022 and 2023. I just think that he had to. He had to throw the ball so much more. 2022, I think we did have a good balance, I feel like, of the run game, but it was pretty much Travis Etienne, and now you do have a couple backs, and what that may look like, I do think we'd see a little bit more. So that's it. It's not my knock on Trevor. It's just thinking that I'm not quite sure that 4,000 mark gets hit this year.
And a healthy Trevor that we haven't seen in a couple seasons, but I do think, to me, I would go the over because of the deep threat now, multiple deep threats that this team has. When you talk about Brian Thomas Jr., clearly he's a guy with speed. You add Travis Hunter, and De'Ami Brown is super fast, super quick. So to me, and Trevor's really good at the deep ball. So if they can get a chunk yardage type of play, those explosive plays a couple times a game, right then and there, you're talking, it adds up very quickly. So right then and there, if he can get a couple 40-plus yard passing plays in a game, I mean, right there, you're at 80 yards.
Yeah, and that's what, I could see it. I wouldn't be shocked if he has 4,100 yards this year. I really wouldn't. I just feel like we've had so many conversations of what the offense may do and what Liam Cohen having to reel him back in a little bit and make that balance. And we compared it a lot with the Justin Herbert of last year, and he had 3,800 yards. So that's where I'm picturing, that 37-38,
right,
just because of the focus on the run game and getting Trevor to just relax a little bit.
And you and I both know that, to your point, it's also way more about the touchdowns and the interceptions.
Yes.
Nobody really cares about the yards.
I don't care if you have 5,000 yards if you only have 20 touchdowns.
and you have 11 or more interceptions. Yeah. So that's certainly, those numbers are more important. Yeah. And so to that point, the over-under for passing touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence for 2025 is 21.5. So that averages out to be 1.26 a game. You can't obviously have 1.26 a game. You'd have to have one or multiple at that point in time. But I think that's a little bit on the low side too.
It feels low because I think that people have these expectations of what the offense should be now. And if the line is fixed and if you have these deep threats in Brian Thomas Jr. and now what Travis Hunter can do and Brown, and you have all of these pieces that you feel like should improve, and Liam Cohen, who does, we saw that with Baker, what that offense looked like. And so I do feel like it probably feels low, but I could see, just because of the same reason I said before, because of the rushing attack and using that in the red zone more and things like that, I could see that number also being accurate. Like an under 25, I wouldn't be shocked. Like a 20 to 25, I wouldn't be shocked. But again, you would want to see some other things. You'd want to see probably a lot more rushing touchdowns then, because you're not going to win. If you're not winning a lot of football games, if you have like 21 passing touchdowns and 8 rushing, like that's just not going to be the circumstance. So again, if we're linking it to Justin Herbert, he had 23 passing touchdowns last year, only 3 picks. I would take that number in a heartbeat, because I would feel like that meant the rushing attack was getting a lot of those red zone carries in the end zone and getting the touchdowns.
That is certainly an area that Trevor Lawrence needs to improve. The red zone is the most important area of the field, as we know, when you're on offense.
And that's where a lot of his turnovers have come.
It hasn't always been a strong suit. Everybody remembers the one in London that he threw when the Jaguars were playing the Broncos, and Russell Wilson was the quarterback, I want to say. Either way, I know it was in London and it was against the Broncos, but everyone remembers that one because then the rest of the season he actually played really, really well. And that must have been 2022. And then he went on a tear and things got a lot better.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of those moments, to your point, where he isn't always making the right decisions. And we understand that the field shrinks, but that's where you have to have that go-to target. And for a long time, I don't know that he's had the chemistry with people. Yes, he did in 2022. Yeah. But it doesn't feel like he's always had like his go-to guy in the red zone.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at that, that's what separates the great elite quarterbacks to the good. And the ones you talk about in Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, they very rarely turn the ball over in the red zone. Once they get there, the field's shrinking for them too, and that's when they play some of their best football. I read a stat, I wish I had it on me. I had saved it at one point, but Joe Burrow's red zone in general, it goes through all his numbers, like his completions there, his touchdowns there, his turnover, the ratio, all of those things, and he's one of the best in the NFL once he gets to the red zone, and I think that's what separates it. So that, to me, is that's going to be one of the biggest indicators of what Trevor Lawrence can be, if he can take that step up and start making that separation of when it really matters. We know he has that deep ball. So if you can throw a 50-yard pass to Brian Thomas Jr. and then he gets another 12 yards and gets a touchdown, that's great. But you can't always count on that happening. You have to be able to do it once you get into that 20 and 15-yard range from the end zone.
Yeah, for sure. The game was October 30th, 2022. The Jaguars lost to the Broncos 21-17. I'll just never forget when I think that was his second interception that game. And I'll never forget hearing Doug Peterson talk about it after, like so frustrated with him. But again, the switch flipped after that. And so maybe he needed that game. They were, I think, like 4-8 at that point in time. And then we all know what happened. They made the postseason, and then they were a turned ankle away from beating the Chiefs, but they couldn't get that done in Kansas City. All right, on the other side, we will get to Travis Hunter's rookie season over-unders. And these that I have are only him as a receiver, as a wide receiver. I don't have any over-unders for him playing defensive back, so maybe those will come out in just a little bit. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Proud to be living in the USA. Have a star-spangled 4th from 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio. Happy birthday, America.
God bless the USA.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barry here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barry Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarryOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barry Orthopedics.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. It's the little things like a peach milkshake on a warm day that makes summer sweet. And now you can head to your local Chick-fil-A and enjoy a favorite summer treat again. Hand-spun the old-fashioned way, this refreshing milkshake features Chick-fil-A ice cream and peaches. It's the perfect cold treat to enjoy outside on a warm day or with friends and family after dinner. And it's here for just a limited time, so swing by your local Chick-fil-A and treat yourself today.
1010XL is a proud supporter of this year's Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament, the largest fundraiser for marine charities. To join the fun July 10th through 19th at the Jim King Park and Boat Ramp, go to kingfishtournament.com.
Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning.
Scheduling was easy, and the tech showed up right on time.
From plumbing and septic to air conditioning, we do it all. Call 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the Duck.
I insist on complete honesty.
You can chime in anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Share your opinion.
Are you nuts? What?
641-1010.
That's crazy.
At Tucker Equipment Rental in Neptune Beach, you just don't rent quality machines, you rent quality customer service. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave. Tucker Equipment Rental has been supplying Jacksonville with equipment and event rental for over 50 years.
From commercial and homeowner projects, we've got what you need: lifts, dirt equipment, and landscape equipment.
And don't forget about event rentals, from festivals to weddings to backyard barbecues.
Local, knowledgeable, and always ready to help.
Tucker Equipment Rentals.
You need it, we've got it, come see us.
It's hurricane season. Protect your home with 904 Gutters with a Z. That's right. Z as in zone defense for your home. Water damage hits hard. 904 Gutters with a Z hits back harder. Search 904 Gutters with a Z and make the right call.
Did you know that for every inch of rain on a 2,000 square foot roof, 1,500 gallons come off the eaves of the roof? Call Clearwater Seamless Gutters and Drainage, and we'll design a plan using our Clearwater Seamless Gutters, and we'll connect those gutters to a Clearwater drainage system to solve your erosion and standing water issues.
Clearwater Seamless Gutters. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at gutters. And drainage, too.
SeamlessGuttersJacksonville.com.
Frank Franzi here for Coil Fencing. Jacksonville is full of memorable sports moments. Remember Hal Sutton when he famously said, "Be the right club today"? Well, that's what Coil Fencing delivers. The right fence today. And they've been delivering the right fencing for both commercial and residential properties for nearly 100 years. If you're in the market for a new fence, call Coil & Sons today at 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
Hi folks, Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Ever wonder what to do with leftover paint that you don't want? Here's a few options. Paint can be placed in the regular trash if it's dry. Simply stir in kitty litter to a thick consistency. Then wait a few days with the lid off till it dries. Also, if the paint is good, there's many charities or churches that would love to have it. If you'd like more tips or have a project, we'd love to help. Go to performance-painting.com. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece. Premium flooring. Take our advice. Home business, affordable price. Driveways, pool decks, garage doors, beautiful patios, and more to explore. Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing
10XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
You know, well, I'm a chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night.
So we decided to play some patriotic songs for today, and Chicken Fried by Zach Brown Band is going to kick things off. And of course, if you don't know the song, towards the end, he is very patriotic. One Zach Brown Band, the lead singer, by the way, Taylor.
Yeah,
of the
that is
Zach
his
Brown
name for
Band.
people who did not know.
Yeah, Thank God for My Life. How does it go? Thank God for... It's so hard to sing.
And the Stars and Stripes.
Yes, thank you.
May
Let freedom forever fly. Yes, and so when he plays it in concert, he'll have, different service members up on the stage with him, and it's just so cool.
Oh, yeah.
It is unbelievable.
I remember because I saw them at Daly's place.
Yes.
And it was fantastic. I was down in the pit area that time, so I was super close to the stage. I have a video where literally he's like touching my hand when we're on the Colder Weather song, which is like my favorite Zach Brown Band song. But this part in the back was fantastic because it's like kind of videos playing for the majority of all their sets and their different themes each one. And so that one had like the American flag and like a bald eagle. And I was like emotional because I get emotional when it's super patriotic anyways. But so it was beautiful. And definitely, he loves his country, which I love that.
And I think a lot of country singers, of course, are patriotic. Some have served, and then the ones who haven't certainly do recognize all the sacrifices that those who do serve our country make. All right, on to Travis Hunter's over-under for his rookie season we go when it comes to him being a wide receiver. 750 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. 750 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns.
This one's so hard because we just don't know.
It's so
we don't
hard.
know anything.
If it was my money, I wouldn't make a bet on this one. I would certainly bet the over, like I said, on both the Trevor Lawrence ones, but I would not make a bet on this one because we don't know.
Very hard. This one's very hard.
I'd probably go under on receiving yards, and I'd probably go over on receiving touchdowns. Just my gut.
Yeah, I think that it's weird. To me, all these numbers seem about right. It feels like, but Vegas is smart when it comes to a lot of these things. Yeah, it seems around that number I would expect, but I think I would expect more touchdowns. I'm in your boat on that one. So over on touchdowns, and I guess I would take that. I don't know if you do that. I'd take that number.
I don't think you do
that number.
I think you're smart, Vegas. I'm going with that. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, I haven't seen defensive back numbers, but I would imagine that he would probably be in the 2 to 3 interceptions ballpark.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's hard. You don't see a ton of defensive, you see the best of the best defensive back gets multiple interceptions of the year, but I guess they are expecting, a lot of people are saying, that his more natural position, and that's kind of what he does.
And he's got great hands.
I guess I would say they'd probably put 2.
I think that's
with
about
2,
right,
especially because nobody knows how much he's going to be. But that's the biggest question right now, if the snap percentage of what he's playing. So if you're taking somebody who does play almost 100% of the snaps and their number is only 4 or 5, are you giving somebody that 2-3 number if they're only playing X%, but you don't know that number. So it's that's so difficult.
I do think after training camp, we'll have a little bit better of an idea how things are going. But certainly it is interesting. All right, let's hear from Willie Colon. He is on Breakfast Ball on FS1. I had not heard of that show, but nowadays when anytime someone national talks about any Jaguars, of course our ears peak up because there's not football there's not football being played for us to watch. But so Willie Colon, he was drafted by the Steelers in the 4th round and then did win a Super Bowl with the Steelers back in 2009. Here he is talking about his plan if he were to face Travis Hunter.
I know how I would approach a guy like this. I'm going to test his armor. I'm going to see how tough you really are. If you want to be a two-way player in the NFL, I'm going to see if you're strong enough to be a two-way player. So when I'm pulling around that corner, I'm going to test that 12 on your chest, right? And so for me, if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, listen to what the players are saying. They're curious if he can finish an 18-game season going both ways. I promise you he won't. They will move him to one side of the ball, and that's cornerback, and allow him to be the best corner they be. Because not only are you going to have to make tackles, you also have to withstand getting hit, too.
Yeah, I think here's the way I think it plays out, and I'm going to tell you, I can't wait to watch this kid play. There's just something very likable about him.
He's a post. He's a target on his chest.
I get it. Look, I totally get an NFL locker room and the type A personalities. And, you're the hot, the new hot guy on the block. Yeah. I'm going to test you. I'm going to test your manhood. Yeah. I'm going to be up in your grill from day one, and let's see what you got. Now, that works both ways.
Yep.
Because if he is that dog, then you open up a can of worms that you might not be able to handle, right?
It's okay.
Now, you physically have no.
Yeah, he's not going to hurt you.
You did say earlier you can I'm bone in the knee.
Hey, man.
So I just come and rope it up and run.
I'm lethal in the phone booth, baby.
All right, so you also heard Craig Carton there as well. I understand certainly what Willie Colon's saying, and that is your number 12, Travis Hunter, does have a target on his back because people in the NFL don't really want him to be able to play both sides of the ball. It would be my imagination, other than Jaguars players, his teammates. To me, it's almost a little bit like the Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, right? Like, we don't want this one person to get all this attention as a rookie. Now, she's in her second year, but Travis Hunter being a rookie. Do you get that sense at all?
Obviously, I haven't talked to players. They obviously have. From what he said and from what Travis Kelce, who is a current player, said the other day, they must be having those conversations in their locker rooms on opposing teams. Like, how can you shut this guy down? Travis Kelce's was more of wear him out, like make him run a lot more than you. And by the end of the game, by the fourth quarter, he's not going to be able to do it anymore. His is more so the physical side of it, like be as physical as possible and wear him down that way and make him work for every single play that he has. I could see a lot. I mean, this is the most competitive people in the world that are in the NFL and playing sports, pro sports. Yeah. And they're competitive in their positions. They're competitive in they actually on the field and game time. They all kind of have that. And not some are a whole different level. Some of these guys, especially in the defensive back rooms, are very like, I'm the best corner in the league. I'm the best this. And I don't know if anybody would want to lose that to somebody who's playing both sides of the ball. And so I do think they're going to have a little bit extra to put onto Travis Hunter. But I also do think that when it comes to, now this is multiple players, we've heard about the like, wear him down. He's not going to be able to do this all season long. And I think the Jaguars are really going to have to take that into account.
Yeah, you'd think that maybe some players would be like, I want him to be successful playing both sides of the ball because then that may open up opportunities for other people if he's successful at it. I just feel like they don't want, again, the attention going to this one player. And again, not Travis's teammates, but people from outside.
Yeah,
and especially with all the dancing and stuff, too, that certainly has gone viral.
Yeah, and I think the attention, I'm sure, is some of it for some of the people because some of these guys love to be in the limelight, love to be,
Travis
the talk
Kelce,
of the time.
we're talking about you.
There's guys in the league that are like that. But I also think that a lot of these guys, too, don't want to be, I'm trying to think of how to word this. They want to, if they're the best at their position, the top wide receivers in the league, the top corners in the league aren't going to want to be them being like, okay, you're a top wide receiver, but you can't play corner, and Travis can. And so they're not going to want that mindset surrounding them because that takes away a little bit of the shine from them. And that if he is able to do it at a high level on both sides of the ball, it takes away, and he'll be like, okay, Justin Jefferson, you're great, but you can't play corner too. And so they're not going to want that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I for some reason, I hadn't really thought about it like that until I went and listened to that clip from Breakfast Ball. All right, important things happened last night. We had Clayton Kershaw becoming the 20th pitcher in all of Major League Baseball to reach 3,000 career strikeouts. We'll let you hear that clip in a second. Also, we had Diego Luna score 2 goals last night as the United States men's national team beat Guatemala 2-1. And also, we have a clip from Shota, your Cubs pitcher, Imanega.
He's hilarious.
Talking about a T-shirt he was wearing. Yep. So we'll let everybody hear it, and then we'll talk about it after.
The 20th pitcher in baseball history. The 4th left-handed pitcher.
特に何のあれか分からないです。多分バンドの T シャツだと思うんですけど、U2 っていうバンドのだと思うんですけど、申し訳ないんですけど、1曲も知らないです。
I'm not sure. I think it's a band. It says U2. So I'm assuming it's a band shirt, but unfortunately, I'm sorry, but I can't name one single song.
There's Diego Luna now. Luna, great dance, Luna!
I love it. A
That's
special edition
fantastic.
of some Heels highlights. We'll start with Shota.
He's so funny.
He's wearing a U2 t-shirt, the band U2.
Yes.
But he doesn't know a single U2 song.
I don't think he knew it was a band. He said, I think
that's
it's
true, too.
a band.
I feel like someone needs to tell him, if you're going to wear that, you got to learn at least one U2 song. And yes, it's a band.
Yes, and it's funny because that's kind of a joke because the newer like Gen Z trends are wearing older band tees, and it will be like Led Zeppelin or
Rolling
whatever.
Stones, I feel
Rolling
like has been a popular one for a long time.
a lot of like that genre of bands that people wear those shirts. I've seen Nirvana ones where kids don't know Nirvana. And so it's a thing where people would walk around and be like, name one song from that. And people would be like, I don't know anything. But I love Shota because I've shared other funny things he said on here before about like New York. He's like, New York looks just like it did in Spider-Man. And he was talking about the turning right on red lights and how weird it is because they don't do that in Japan, I guess. And he was like, or right on red lights. I don't know if I just said that. But so it's just funny. He makes so many funny comments. He just came back. He was missed like 2 months and then made his first start back on Thursday and had 2 really good games, won both of them so far coming back. And so he just brings that excitement, but he's so funny too. And there's this one lady that sits outside Wrigley every single game. I'm guessing she's retired because she has season tickets apparently because she goes to every single game, but she meets all the players. She knows where they come in. So she'll take pictures, but she'll like bring them stuff sometimes and have stuff signed. And they're all so sweet to her because it's like this older lady. Everybody knows her. And Shota always brings her iced coffee every single morning, and it's so sweet. He's just like that type of guy. But that Japanese culture is so respectful, and he's very embraced that here. Like he tries to embrace the American culture and the Chicago world in general. Like his walk-up song was the Blackhawks goal song for a while, and everyone just was like, he's just so funny. But yeah, maybe he'll go listen to U2 now.
Yeah,
song or two.
I'm with you. If you're gonna wear the band T-shirt, you at least have to know one. Like I said, at least one song.
Yeah,
come on now.
Yeah.
You also heard Diego Luna. He did score 2 goals. That was his 3rd goal as a U.S. men's national team player. And now the United States is headed back to the Gold Cup final. That will be Sunday at 7 p.m. versus Mexico.
How do you feel?
I'm always nervous about stuff like this, but
like, are they better than what people thought, or
yes, because some of the A-list players still aren't on this roster, and so the younger guys like a Diego Luna is stepping up. I saw he was born in 2003, and I almost spit out my coffee. Speaking of iced coffee, but yeah, and then the other highlight, of course, Clayton Kershaw last night reaching the 3,000 career strikeouts, just the 20th player to ever do so, and the 4th left-hander. So. I had to, of course, give him a shout out there with the Dodgers. They did beat the White Sox, which you love, 5-4 last night. All right, we got to get it to. We got to get to a little college football on the other side. We're going to talk with Ryan Roberts. He covers college football for A to Z Sports. We've taken a tour of college football. We've hit Florida. We've hit Florida State. We've hit Miami. We've talked to LSU. We've talked Clemson. We're waiting for Georgia. We're going to do that next week on the heels of SEC Media Days. But on the other side, we will go around the college football landscape with Ryan Roberts. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
There's a new sheriff in town.
You know him. Of course, I know him. He's the best marshal I've got.
And things are going to be different around here.
Let's ride.
1010XL. Home of the Jaguars.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Ideal Conditions Heating and Air Conditioning is your go-to for all AC repairs and replacements. Just gas your AC. For exceptional service, call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjacks.com to schedule your estimate today.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjacks.com.
Rick Uncle Lou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental, with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
The team at Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to book your next round of golf with us. At Hidden Hills, we love the game, and we'll provide you with a memorable golf experience at one of the most unique golf courses in North Florida. Check us out at hiddenhillsgc.com.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 3rd, 1987, Darryl Strawberry threatened his teammate for criticizing his play. Darryl Strawberry is now an ordained minister.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
When the heat is on and we need a show we really care, do it with a full arrangement from Kuhn Flowers. This is Dylan Denmark. Let's make their day better than yesterday. Online at kuhnflowers.com since 1947.
Hey, Hicken here for my friends at Zero Res, and this week only we salute the 4th. Zero Res offering 25% off all services. That's right, a 4th off for the 4th. Book online at ZeroResJacksonville.com and take advantage of the savings.
Zero Res.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
American girls and American guys, we'll always stand up and salute. We'll always recognize when we see old glory flying. There's a lot of men dead, so we can sleep in peace at night when we lay down our heads.
All right, we are continuing on our patriotic songs and, and celebration of 4th of July tomorrow and America's independence, but we are also being joined now by Ryan Roberts, NFL draft and college football analyst for A to Z Sports. So Ryan, thanks for hopping on with us.
Absolutely. How are you guys doing?
We are doing great. We have one of our coworkers out there grilling up some hamburgers and hot dogs right now for us, so
Nice.
I'm very excited. But
I love it.
I do want to get into, obviously, a lot of storylines in college football this year, but I do want to start, because you do cover the NFL draft too, a little kind of recap of what the Jaguars did and your thoughts on that. The big one, obviously, trading up to get Travis Hunter. We've talked a lot of Travis Hunter this last couple months, and that is, I'm guessing, not going to stop. But some of those other ones, when it comes to Caleb Bransaw, that was a corner going to be playing safety here in Jacksonville, Wyatt Milam on the offensive line, Toot in the running back, Jack Kaiser, who you're very familiar with out of Notre Dame. Some of those names, any of those stick out to you and that in a way that you like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I always support taking a gamble for an elite prospect, and that's what you did with Travis Hunter at the top. And I mean, he could end up counting as 2 players potentially, right, with the number 2 overall selection. So, I mean, it was probably a lot to mortgage away for one player that isn't a quarterback in the top 5, but ultimately, he's such a rarity. I think that those trade debates kind of are a little bit on, it's a little bit on deaf ear at this point for me, right? Like, we got to see, one, what are his splits from corner to receiver as far as total amount of time that he's playing there, what's the impact he has in a vacuum. So I really do think that I was totally fine with that. But I think Wyatt Milam, as far as like biggest values in this class that I like, I mean, I had a mid-second round grade on Wyatt, so the fact that you got him in the late 3rd round, a guy that I think could be a starting guard relatively early in his career. I mean, like he he was a pure left tackle at West Virginia. Everybody knew he was going to transition inside because of his shorter arms. And, he's a solid athlete, but he's not a great athlete to stay on the edge. So you knew that he was going to move inside. But I think that ultimately, like 2 to 3 years from now, we're going to be talking about him as just a solid starting guard in the NFL. So I think getting him in that juncture is fantastic. Outside of that, though, to be honest, it left a lot to be desired, to be honest with you, right? Like, I remember, like, Caleb Ransall was a kid that I liked. I mean, he was a Tulane kid that was at Troy previously, nickel kid that kind of projects more to safety. I like the player. I just, third round's a little rich for me. I mean, and even guys like Bashaw Tootin, I like Bashaw Tootin for a role, but, like, at pick 104, I just think there were better running backs there. So I like the Wylam pick. I am in love with the potential of Travis Hunter, but I do think that there were a couple spots that I was just kind of like, I think the Jaguars maybe reached a little bit or kind of missed the mark as far as like where the value was in that specific spot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the majority of people were thinking that about Jack Kaiser, but not as much about, Caleb Ransall. So that's interesting perspective.
Yeah, I was very upset that Xavier Watts, when he was sitting there, that they didn't go that route, especially because of the safety need in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I echo that because, I mean, that's the interesting thing about Ransall is, I mean, yes, it's possible. I mean, you ladies would know more than me, but I think that it's possible that he could play a version of nickel in the NFL. But, I remember watching him, and I'm just like, this kid is physical, downhill. They blitz him off the slot a ton, both at Troy and Tulane. Like, he kind of plays more like a safety to me, and I kind of thought that that's the role that he's going to play. So the fact that, you brought it up, Xavier Watts went, like, I think 7 or 8 picks later, ultimately, I do think that was a potential bigger value if you're especially planning on playing him as a true safety in the Jaguars defense.
All right, Ryan, let's get it to college football for 2025. A lot of the marquee teams have quarterbacks that we have questions about, whether it's the 2 teams that played for the national championship in Ohio State and Notre Dame. We know who will be the quarterbacks, but we haven't seen them, obviously. A team like Alabama, certainly, and Texas even, too. We saw a little bit of Arch Manning. But of those types of schools, the ones that are perennially in the top 5 to 10, which one do you think whose quarterback will play the best?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it has to be Arch Manning. Look, it's getting a little too hyperbolic this offseason, especially when you have like Paul Feinbaum going on, right. on Get Up and talking about how he's the best college quarterback ever, or since Tebow, and it's just like he started 2 football games and one of them against Louisiana Monroe. Like, let's just chill a little bit. Like, let's play a little bit of football. But he is incredibly talented, obviously, right? Like, he's 6'4", 220. He's got a really strong and really talented arm, and he's a great athlete too, which is obviously a little bit different of style of player than what his uncles were. And I think that in Steve Sarkisian's offense, I trust that he is going to get a lot out of the quarterback position. I believe, and I know it's I wouldn't say it's a hot take, but it's not a popular opinion. But I am one of the one part that I thought that Paul Feinbaum was correct on in his entire excerpt of talking about Arch Manning on that show was I do think that if they would have just stuck with Manning when Ewers got hurt and he had to start a couple games, if they just went through a little bit of the ups and downs with a redshirt freshman starting down the stretch, I do think they would have had a much better chance to beat Ohio State, and I do think they could potentially have won the national championship this past season. So I am high on Arch Manning, the player, not quite to the degree that some people are making out, but I think he's the easiest one because not only is he's going to his 3rd year under Steve Sarkisian, so he's been in the offense, even though he hasn't played a ton of football at this point, and you're with a guy that is known for being one of the best offensive play callers in all college football. So Arch is definitely the guy. The Alabama one is just so weird to me because I trust Kalen DeBoer as a offensive play caller, obviously, and just a developer. Like, I think he's a really good coach, a great offensive mind. But if it's Ty Simpson, he's been there a minute now, and they have continuously kind of tried to get other options to unseat him. 2 years ago, they went and got Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame, who hadn't done much up until that point, and he was above Ty Simpson on the depth chart behind Jalen Milroe. So I just don't have a ton of confidence in Ty Simpson. Ohio State, hey, one, Julian Stain was a former 5-star for a reason. He's a talented kid. Ohio State has a great offensive system, even though they're changing offensive coordinators, but they got the best wide receiver room in all of college football. He's going to put up some numbers. The Notre Dame one is super interesting because it's like Notre Dame has been historically, and this isn't just a Marcus Freeman thing, but they've been historically a running football team, and I expect them to be a running football team again with Jeremiah Love and Jadorian Price back. So I think what you're looking for a CJ Carr, or if Kenny Minchie somehow wins that spot. We'll see. Whoever the quarterback is, and obviously CJ is the heavy favorite at this point, I think you just want efficiency in 2025. Like, they're not going to put everything on his plate. They're not going to ask him to go out there for 3,800 yards, 4,000 yards. They're going to ask him to control the offense, not turn the football over, and make some big plays when big plays are there. So I expect efficiency from the Notre Dame system, and I expect gaudy numbers potentially for Texas and Ohio State.
Just seems crazy to me that Lloyd Carr's grandson is the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. Like, it just doesn't work out.
I don't know if you saw during his recruitment, but I can't remember if it was National Signing Day or just an interview, but he was literally wearing some Notre Dame gear. So they got Lloyd Carr in some Notre Dame gear during that CJ Carr recruitment, which is pretty awesome.
That's unbelievable to me. Former Michigan head coach, for people who don't know.
Yeah. Staying on that quarterback topic, Ryan, because I saw one of the tweets that you posted. This was back about a month ago now, and somebody asked you if you had to name right now the top 5 quarterbacks in order for the 2026 draft. And it got me thinking how different things were this time last year. This time last year, we were talking about it, Quinn Ewers and Shedeur Sanders sitting at that 1-2, and obviously that drastically changed once the draft came around. And your order
and Carson
was
Beck too.
And Beck, yes.
Yeah.
And so your order on this tweet specifically was Lenore Sellers, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Fernando Mendoza, and then Cade Klubnik, which I think that for the most part, Lenore's we're talking a ton about. Aller, Nussmeier is probably the one we've talked the highest about this offseason so far, and then Cade Klubnik also. But that number 1, Fernando Mendoza in Indiana, thoughts on him in general and your actual expectations for that, but also what do you think Carson Beck has to do at Miami to possibly get back into that conversation?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for Mendoza, I'm really excited because he showed a lot of upside for Cal the last 2 seasons, and that is not the most advantageous situation for a quarterback. Like, the skill position outside of Jaden Ott is a little bit hit or miss. Their offensive line was not very good at all. So Fernando had to play a little bit more outside of structure than I think he would like to. Like, he's a pure pocket kid. Like, he's 6'5", 225. He can move well in the pocket, but he's not a kid that wants to play outside of structure a ton. He's definitely not a runner. Like, that's not necessarily his game. He can do it when he needs to, but he doesn't want to do it. He is a pocket quarterback to the core. So I think that getting him with a really good offensive system in Indiana and what Curt Cignetti is doing, I think is a great fit. I mean, for what he did with Curtis Rourke this past year, it was tremendous. And Curtis Rourke's a solid talent, but I mean, he went in the 7th round, so he wasn't a crazy talent. And I do think that if he is able to be more comfortable with what's around him, and I think he will be, because Indiana's got good wide receivers coming back. They got a couple of transfer portal running backs. I think the offensive line is definitely better than Cal. So in a vacuum, I love the situation. I really like the tools. It's now about taking like the natural next step. Like, you were a redshirt sophomore for Cal and you had to do a little bit too much. Can you play more consistently from in the pocket? Do you have a little bit more of a feel there? And are you able now to take advantage of opportunities in front of you? So he's one of the guys, and I know the NFL is pretty high on him. I've heard a lot of like early to mid 2nd round grades right now. And for this time of year, with another year to be played, that's a good grade for a quarterback, especially going into his redshirt junior year. So I think a lot of people are really excited about him. It's just about, can he take advantage of what we saw Curtis Rourke do last year? And for Carson Beck, it's funny. There's some NFL people that still like Carson Beck. I like the talent as far as I think his arm is good, maybe slightly above average for NFL standards. Like, so he's got a good arm. He's got a good frame. He's over 6'4". He's going to be about 220-something pounds when he weighs in, before April of next year. So there's a lot to like from a pure pocket perspective. I just don't think he's an elevator at all. So I do think there's a ceiling on him, and I don't think that he has I think I phrased it even in that tweet, or maybe it was a separate tweet of last year we were trying to sell ourselves on floors. This year we're trying to sell ourselves on ceilings. Like, that's the sellers and all those guys, like crazy tools. I just think Carson Beck has a ceiling on him. Like, I just don't think that he's a guy that is going to necessarily elevate others around him. I think inside of structure, he's good when things are right. When it's not, he turns the football over a ton like he did last year at Georgia. So I still think that he could get drafted high. I'm just a little hesitant on him. Plus, a couple things I've heard, like, I do question, and I don't like to be that guy, but like, I do question if he really likes football sometimes, to be honest, right? So like, I think he's just got many questions to answer, but he has enough talent to stick in the NFL for a long time, at least as a backup.
Well, there's one name that was not in the top 5, and Florida fans are not happy about it. DJ Lagway. I think we know his arm talent. We know his sheer size and certainly speed when he wants to run. But I think he's going to be more of a pocket passer this year. But what are your thoughts on DJ Lagway?
I mean, crazy talents, right? Like, I mean, we saw it last year, and this time next year when he's draft eligible, we're going to be talking about him a ton. But I am a little bit worried, though, to be honest with you. I mean, like, this shoulder stuff that just kind of keeps coming up is a little bit unsettling to me. Like, it really is, because he does play, and I agree, he's a pocket passer. Like, this is not a running quarterback. He can run if he chooses to, but he is a pocket quarterback, and due to his just sheer size and his play style, I don't want to call it reckless, but like he does, I mean, like he's willing to put his body on the line. He's willing to wait, stay in the pocket and take some shots. And the fact that we're just keeping this thing with his shoulder is just, I'm just a little scared of it, to be honest with you. So if he's able to stay healthy, though, I mean, they just don't make too many guys that are 6'3", 240 something, can run, have crazy arms, one of the best deep balls in college football already. Like, he's a crazy talent. So this time next year, if he has the type of season that people think he can, we're going to be talking about him at quarterback one conversations, even if Arch Manning goes back to school for another year. So incredible talent. I will say, though, from like the Florida perspective, you better hope he stays healthy, because I think I was looking at a depth chart the other day where Harrison Bailey is projected to be the second stringer, and it's like, man, if he gets hurt, that is going to be a little bit of tough sledding for Coach Napier, who's obviously in a big season after ended the year really well last year, but needs a big year this year. So I'm hoping that he's able to stay healthy, because he might be the most talented quarterback in all of college football. Like, it's like him or Lenoris, and Arch is probably somewhere in that conversation, but he is one of the just more God-gifted quarterbacks that we've seen in college football the last couple of years.
You don't trust Harrison Bailey, who started at Louisville, then transferred to UNLV, then transferred to Tennessee, and now is at Florida? I'm really shocked by that. But yeah, if the quarterback can stay healthy, crazy talented as a Florida Gator, we've literally been down that road before with Anthony Richardson, and look where he was drafted.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, though, it's not even just DJ. Like, there is a little bit of an injury concern just on the offensive side of the football in general for Florida. I think Florida's defense is going to be really good this year, because I think they've one of the best defensive lines in college football coming back with Tyreek Sabb and Caleb Banks and all those dudes. But when I look at that offense, I'm like, okay, DJ, questions of the shoulder. Let's see what happens. But at wide receiver, I love Eugene Wilson as a talent. I think that kid is dynamite. But he only played in like 4 games last year, right? Like, he was banged up. And then you bring in J. Michael Sturvan, who spent time at UCLA and then Cal previously. And that kid, I mean, he's going to run something crazy when he is going through the draft process next year. He's 6'2". He can run for days. Incredibly talented. The flashes are awesome. But he's also a kid that has really struggled to stay healthy the last couple of years as well. So if you guys hit the injury bug from a Florida perspective, it's going to be tough offensively. So I'm a little bit worried about that side of the ball. If they're able to stay healthy, though, that's going to be one of the more athletic and fast teams in college football this year.
Switching over to the other team in Florida, when we're talking about the Seminoles coming off a very disappointing season, adding Tommy Castellanos, that's been probably the bigger storyline coming out of there. But they also have 2 wide receivers. It's probably my favorite wide receiver name group, because it's Squirrel and Deuce are 2 of their starting 3 wide receivers. But then the addition of Gus Malzahn too. So what are you expecting with Tommy Castellanos and being able to work aside Gus?
Well, I know obviously he knows him, right? So and they know each other, more importantly. So I think Castellanos is obviously going to understand the expectation of what a Gus Malzahn offense is going to look like, and ultimately I think that Gus understands what he is good at, having recruited him, and what he isn't good at. And I think that's the most important thing is he just wasn't a fit with Bill O'Brien at Boston College. And I thought Bill O'Brien did a pretty good job last year in his first year with Boston College, but he's a pro-style coach, and he wanted Castellanos to be a pro-style quarterback, and that's just not what he is. He's a great athlete, though, right? Like, he can do the quarterback run game stuff. He can play outside of structure. You really need to hone in on that. And I think that's going to be super interesting. Obviously, you had DJ Uyunglele last year until, it went completely downhill down the stretch of the season. But you tried to make it a pro-style system last year. I think that Florida State, if they're going to bounce back to anything relatively close to what they were 2 years ago, they are going to be much more of a run-heavy approach this year, and I think that they are going to utilize their new quarterback and his ability to work outside of structure. And then ultimately, you hope guys that, like Deuce Robinson, are able to take sizable jumps from where they were previously. And obviously, his last year at USC the last couple of years. So I like some of the pieces. I think it's interesting. I'm just fascinated to see exactly what it looks like, because I do think that he is a quarterback that can be successful in the right system. But if they try to make him something that he is not, I do think that could be a little bit of an issue this year in Tallahassee.
Well, Ryan, we so appreciate your time. And by the way, I'm with you as far as Florida State last year. I wasn't surprised that DJ Uyunglele wasn't all that good, but I was shocked that Florida State couldn't run the football at all. That is something that certainly they've prided themselves on in the past. But we so appreciate you and hope you have a wonderful 4th.
Oh, you too. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, you so
Ryan.
much. You do the same. We got to get some cheeseburgers. Is what we got to do. But before that, we're going to talk on the other side with Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints. We like to talk about quarterbacks around these parts, so we want to find out, is it Tyler Shuck? Is it somebody else? That is on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Sharing ideas and emotions.
We all want the victory!
1010XL.
Yo, it's your main man E.T. here for Explore Clay. And Clay County is your destination this 4th of July. Start the morning with the Freedom 5K in Keystone Heights. Medals for the first 300 finishers and a scenic course through the shaded neighborhoods. Then enjoy the 57th annual celebration at City Hall with vendors, live music, and family fun. Wrap up the day at Moose Haven in Orange Park for the American Pride 4th of July, a free Riverside event with food, live entertainment, and fireworks over the St. Johns River. Discover more at exploreclay.com.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. Went smooth as silk. Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Tired of high energy bills? Well, replace those inefficient windows and patio doors now. Don't miss Renewal by Anderson's summer sale. Buy 4 windows or doors and get the 5th one free. No money down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months, but this offer expires July 31st. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Florida Gators. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, need a fence and ready to save? At Superior Fence and Rail, you'll lock in 5% off your fence project when you sign by the end of July. A limited time offer for savings and peace of mind this summer. Now accepting appointments for a free estimate. So act fast and get 5% off your entire fence project when you finalize by July 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers. New contracts only.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
This 4th of July, Navy Mutual would like to salute Nolan Ryan as our hero in sports. Ryan is baseball's ultimate Iron Man, but also a Patriot. Served 1 year with the Army Reserves in 1967 before returning to baseball and pitching for the New York Mets.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
If life blindsided you tomorrow, would your family struggle? I'm Cody with Harborstone Financial, and I can help. One call could protect your family for life. 904-885-9566. Harborstone Financial.
Are you living with diabetic neuropathy? That pain and numbness in your hands or feet? What about chronic knee or shoulder pain? Maybe you've tried various treatments, but they've been ineffective. Now there's a solution. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso specializes in advanced pain management and offers breakthrough neuromodulation treatments for those conditions. His innovative treatments target the source of your pain, offering relief where medications may fall short. All procedures are performed outpatient with no hospitalization required. Just a chance for you to feel and live better. If you want to learn more, Dr. Formoso is hosting free informational classes where he'll explain the benefits of neuromodulation therapies and how they can help eliminate your pain. Spaces are limited, so call to reserve your spot now with offices on the South Side, West Side, and Jacksonville Beach. Relief is possible with Formoso Spine and Joint Pain Specialists.
David here with Royal Pest Services. It's back. Our summer Centricon Termite Special. New installs begin as low as $249. And if you have existing Centricon, but your renewal is through the roof, we can transfer you to Royal at no cost. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free estimate.
I'm Brendan with Checkmate Coatings. Pool decks, driveways, garages, patios, we coat them all to make your neighbors jealous.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm RJ Saunders for 1010XL. This update brought to you by the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp Fort. Florida Gator center Jake Slaughter headlined the preseason Walter Camp and Athlon Sports All-America teams by being named to the first team on both, while a collection of 10 Gators earned all-conference recognition to the publications announced. A team captain last year, Slaughter was an AP first-team All-American, becoming the Gators' third Gator center, I should say, to claim a first-team All-America honor from one of the 5 current publications for consensus and unanimous distinction. Mavericks assistant coach God Shamgod has agreed to join the Magic staff as an assistant coach under Jamal Mosley. Right now, 86 degrees at 12:58. Time and 10 brought to you by Bueller Air & Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Bless our troops. Bless America. And gentlemen, start
All right, a little Bill Murray for you to get ready for the 4th of July.
Are we the only sports talk radio station in the country that plays Bill Murray and talks about Bill Murray?
I need to probably tag them in a post sometime and be like, hey, we're giving you love down here in Jacksonville. But let's continue some quarterback talk, Lauren, because there is a lot of quarterback conversations around the NFL, and one of those being the Saints quarterback room, who is very interesting to say the least. So we're joined now by Ross Jackson. He's the host for Locked On Saints. Ross, thanks for hopping on and joining us.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me on. I love a little Bill Murray every now and then.
Oh, heck yeah. I love that.
I was wondering if you knew who they were.
Love
it. That's awesome.
So we've been talking, we've been kind of going around the NFL and the quarterback competition rooms or new quarterbacks, kind of getting to know those a little bit more in the teams and expectations, because there's several of them this year. The Saints, Ross, obviously one of the more interesting. The Saints and Browns are probably the 2 most interesting in the NFL when it comes to just kind of what is going on. So let's start there. Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, the 3 listed on the depth chart in that order. Shuck drafted in the 2nd round by the Saints. A lot of people were actually very high on Tyler. I was hearing some people have a 1st-round grade on him, and some of the draft guys that I was talking to. But a little bit on that. Thoughts on the pick to start, and then how things kind of looked through camp.
Yeah, I think starting with the pick, going all the way back to draft night, it wasn't super shocking. I mean, we kind of knew here locally that, Tyler Shuck was very much on the radar for this team, and more specifically, first-year head coach Kellen Moore. And this was kind of a new endeavor for New Orleans, where they have a new head coach who comes in, and with that new head coach, he actually gets to draft his starting quarterback, or draft the quarterback that he has the potential to be paired with. Throughout the early parts of his tenure. You look back at Sean Payton when he arrived here in New Orleans. They went to free agency to get Drew Brees. Post that, they go to free agency again to try to build things up with Jameis Winston, who's of course now in New York, and another one of those intriguing potential quarterback battles, or at least quarterback situations. Dennis Allen takes over as the head coach after Sean Payton departs. They go to the free agency market a year later. They go after Derek Carr. So that's always kind of been the way that the Saints have operated. Even Teddy Bridgewater had, shown up in New Orleans, went undefeated as a starter in one of those 2 seasons where he played, and there was conversation about him potentially being the successor. It had always been kind of the free agent projects that the Saints brought in and found success with, and this was kind of the first time that the Saints went after the quarterback. And my understanding is that when it comes to the quarterbacks, they had Cam Ward as their number one guy, and then they had, depending upon who you talk to, it was Jackson Dart and Tyler Shuck, or Tyler Shuck and Jackson Dart. And it seems that the side that, was the Tyler Shuck side at number 2 there won out. And my understanding is that Kellen Moore was one of those guys. And so high expectations for Tyler Shuck coming into New Orleans. We'll see where things go from here. When it comes to what he does well and what we saw from him in camp, I think the big arm obviously shows off big time. I think his ability to read defenses and make good decisions shows big time. But I think you're also seeing a little bit of the kind of slow pace or slower pace of a collegiate quarterback transitioning to the NFL. So that's going to be a big part of his training camp, is speeding up his clock, attacking the middle of the field, and getting into the short and intermediate areas a little bit more, as opposed to just relying on that deep ball. And so as we see that growth from him, I think that that's going to be kind of the next steps all throughout the Saints a couple of weeks of training camp here coming up in a few weeks.
Any surprise when Derek Carr decided to medically retire?
I'll say the retirement part of it was very surprising. The fact that he was not going to be with the New Orleans Saints in 2025 was not. I think that one way or another, this was eventually going to head to a split with Derek Carr. It didn't make sense to bring in a first-year head coach, a first-time head coach, and then saddle him up with somebody else's veteran quarterback that's not going to be a part of your future when you're trying to rebuild your team. And so the 2 big surprises when it came to that conversation were the medical retirement and then him giving $30 million of guaranteed money back to New Orleans, which is really going to have an impact in 2026. I'm sure y'all are very aware of the Saints quarterback salary cap gymnastics, we'll call them, over the course of the last few years. But the Saints are going into now what is the healthiest salary cap situation they've been in once they get out of this 2025 season. And so that, to me, those 2 things were the big surprises when it came to Carr.
Let's chat a little bit about Kellen Moore, first year as a head coach for them. You talk about him being able to get his guy, the quarterback that he wanted in this draft, and being that offensive-minded guy, the combination of developing a young quarterback, but also maximizing guys like an Alvin Kamara and a Chris Olave, who we know have all the potential in the world. How do you maximize those strengths and kind of the combination of the veteran guys and these young guys? What have you seen so far, and what have you heard from Kellen Moore on just the roster building and what he's done this offseason?
Yeah, look, I think a big part of it is that he really has kept a lot of the core intact here in New Orleans. Young wide receivers like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are expected to lead the way, but then he brings a familiar face both to New Orleans and to himself, because they overlapped in Dallas, in wide receiver Brandon Cooks to come in and kind of add to that room and be a veteran presence. He keeps Alvin Kamara here in New Orleans. You still got pretty much the same tight end room with a few additions, same thing going on with the running back room. And so he's kept a lot of the same core pieces intact and has made most of the changes outside of the quarterback position, of course, happen on the offensive line, drafting Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas at number 9 overall in the top 10, shuffling around where some of these guys are going to be playing as well to try to maximize as much of that offensive line as possible. And to your question, I think that that's how you maximize the rest of the roster, is to get a good protection unit up there and keeping those guys on the field and keeping them healthy. And I think you saw that through some additional moves like hiring Ted Rath as the director of sports performance, a guy that has a reputation from his days back with the Rams and with the Eagles of being able to promote some of the healthiest rosters in the NFL. They replaced their director of rehabilitation. So all of that goes to maximizing these players by keeping them on the field first and foremost. The second thing is that Kellen Moore doesn't really have, we talk about like West Coast offenses and Air Coryell offenses and air raid offenses. He doesn't really have like a moniker for the offense that he runs, because everything that he does is so matchup based and based on the talent of the players. So his system is kind of inherently built with the intent of maximizing what it is that players already do well. So I think that's another way that you'll see players from around the roster, not just at quarterback, but running back, tight end, wide receiver, offensive line. You'll see all of those guys end up benefiting from Kellen Moore's approach, because he really leans in on what he calls their superpowers, what it is that they do well.
Yeah, I feel like when you look over the Saints depth chart, it's almost a little bit of a surprise to see that Taysom Hill is still there. Like,
it just hangs on forever.
Yeah, I mean, he's collecting a paycheck, which, like you mentioned, Derek Carr gave $30 million back. But yeah, I feel like the days of Taysom Hill being that elite weapon are probably over.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. I mean, look, he had a very significant knee injury in December last year, and this is a guy that's come back from several of those significant knee injuries, to his credit, throughout his career, but it's a little bit harder to do that at 34. Like, I mean, I'm 35, and when I stub my toe, it's harder to walk for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? And these guys, I get, are elite athletes, but with elite athletes come some major injuries and significant injuries like the one that he experienced. And so I do think that that's probably the right estimation, although he's surprised us in the past before. But I will say, I mean, this is the guy that has been he's led the team in interceptions over the course of I think the last 4 or 5 years for New Orleans. Or excuse me, in touchdowns. I don't know why I said interceptions. Led the team in touchdowns over the course of.
You were thinking of Derek Carr still.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I still got Derek Carr on the mind. Sorry, but he's led the team in combined touchdowns, just rushing and receiving, not even factoring in the touchdown passes that he's thrown. He's been the team's second leading rusher every single year since 2001. That's 2020 was the last time that a running back was the second leading rusher behind Alvin Kamara. That was Latavius Murray back that many years ago. And so, he has been somebody that has been a consistent, if not the most consistent playmaker on the offensive side of the football outside of Rashid Shaheed, who is just this dynamic home run hitter. But I don't know if he's going to get how many opportunities he's going to get here in 2025. I did confirm with Kellen Moore that when he is healthy, that he will continue to take snaps at quarterback and be kind of utilized in that role. But what else is he doing? What else is he being asked to do? What else is being scaled back to try to keep him on the field and keep him healthy? And when does that happen? When does he return to the field? That's such a major question mark after a significant knee injury all the way late in the season in December last year.
And Shaheed had an injury too last year.
Say again?
Shaheed had an injury too last year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Shaheed had an injury. Chris Olave had an injury. Literally everybody. You know what I mean? They had so many injuries last year, and it was such a big part. I think it was over 80 games cumulative that week one starters on both sides of the football combined missed throughout the 2024 season. Like, that is a huge deal. And you're talking about, too, that's just the week one starters. They also, particularly on the interior of their offensive line, like, they signed Connor McGovern on a Tuesday to play on a Sunday. Like, it was not, it wasn't the greatest situation for them health-wise. And I think that's why some of the major kind of health or health-related moves that they made on their staff are so important to see how they pan out. There's no guarantee that they get healthier in 2025, but the hope is certainly that they'll be there. But I think Rashid coming back from an injury and Olave coming back from injuries big time are big ones to watch. Because they, like I said, they added Brandon Cooks, but Brandon Cooks also dealt with injuries last year too. And so when you have sort of this injury-riddled top of your, or I'll say injury-hampered top of your wide receiver depth chart, what happens if those injuries set in again? It gets really challenging for you. And so hopefully they can keep these guys on the field here in 2025. Certainly that's a big part of the efforts over the course of this offseason. The Saints did no 11-on-11 full team drills during OTAs or mandatory minicamp. When they did walkthroughs, they didn't wear helmets as to keep some of the physicality dialed back, because Kellen Moore felt that with helmets on that people would tick up a little bit in the physicality. And so they really limited contact and physicality early on in the offseason to help get these guys to training camp. They did a good job of that. All the players should be ready to go for training camp, with the exception of probably Taysom Hill and maybe Foster Moreau, the tight end, being another one to watch. But that's a big focus for them right now, is just getting these guys to the season and through the season once they get there.
Ross Jackson talking a little bit of Saints with us, host of Locked On Saints. Ross, we know that all too well when it comes to injuries, and it does feel like sometimes when they happen, it just kind of spirals out of control. We talk a lot about that 2022 season when the Jaguars ended up making the playoffs, beat the Chargers, how healthy they stayed that year. And then now since then, Trevor's had back-to-back years where he's missed a month or more of football. Christian Kirk last year, Evan Ingram, Gabe Davis, who wasn't much anyways, but he also got hurt. Yep. And so it does feel like it kind of spirals. Once one happens, the wheels start to fall off on teams, especially if you're a team that maybe isn't that high-end roster talent from top to bottom, which is something the Jaguars have been working on. But speaking of that, I wanted to ask you about the secondary there in New Orleans, because they added Justin Reed. Obviously, that was one of the bigger, going along with a couple guys they drafted in Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alante Taylor alongside one of the honey badger, who I feel like has also been around forever, it feels like. But talk a little bit about that secondary, because I do feel like for so long, especially when Dennis Allen was the defensive coordinator there, that was such a massive piece of success for them. And so do you feel like they can get that back?
Yeah, I think that they can. There's just two big kind of switches for this team, one of which happens in the coaching, the other of which happens on the field. But both of them result in going from proven to potential. Roster-wise, they lost Will Harris at safety, who was their starting safety last year next to Tyrann Mathieu. They replaced him with Justin Reed. Solid. That's a solid replacement. That's a good situation there. But they also, since their week one starters back in 2024, Marshawn Lattimore was traded away at the trade deadline last year to the Washington Commanders, and he played some games for the Commanders. And then they also lost Paulson Adebo, their other starter on the opposite side, to free agency this offseason to the New York Giants. And so now they turn to Kool-Aid McKinstry. Alontae Taylor probably stays in the slot, though he probably plays outside in those base packages. But then they bring in maybe Isaac Yiadom, who played with the team back in 2023. They drafted Quincy Riley in the fourth round, who I think has the potential to be a starting corner in the NFL, but how quickly does he get there in terms of his development? So now they've gone from kind of proven player assets of Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo to potential, right? Young pieces that are talented, no doubt about it, but how do they transition to the NFL? How do they fit into the big roles? Similarly, they go from a proven secondary developer in Dennis Allen, who's now the defensive coordinator with the Chicago Bears, and then now they're going to the potential of Brandon Staley's defensive system, which was great when he was with the Rams in 2020 as a sole defensive coordinator, but had its ups and downs for certain during his time as a head coach with the Los Angeles Chargers. And so now it's potential again. And, you know, that was a Chargers defense that didn't pull in a lot of interceptions. I mean, there was a time to where their leading player when it came to interceptions had 2 picks, had a pair. And so I think that that's going to be a big part of the conversation is, does the potential lead to production the way that the proven production that they once was in the building? And I think that's going to be a big thing. I think there's a lot of talent here. I think that it's young, though, and so they got to have time to develop the talent. I think 2026 and 2027 are going to look a lot different than 2025 if all of those players, you know, stick around and play through that long. And so I think that's going to be the big thing is where's the starting point for them, and then how can they build upon that? But I'm not expecting too terrible much from that secondary level in 2025 when it comes to like takeaway production. But can they make a quarterback hold on to the football a little bit longer? Can they make a quarterback move on to their next read? Can they be disruptive at the catch point? Go out there and take risks. You might as well. What have you got to lose? It's going to be more about the attitude and playing sort of that attacking style of defense that Brandon Staley is known for, and then seeing if they can turn that into production over the course of their development.
Well, similar to the Jaguars, 2 bad divisions, the AFC South and the NFC South. So we've got 100%. That going for us as well. We're celebrating the 4th today early here at 1010XL with hamburgers and hot dogs. And so I have to ask you, speaking of food, your favorite New Orleans or Louisiana dish?
Oh, goodness. Is yes an option? I mean, goodness gracious. Like, I think I live in the best food city in the world. I will say that. Yeah, there's Paris, but whatever. And so, you know, a little bit more spicier. I think probably my favorite that will always be a go-to, I don't know, I'm a sucker for a po' boy. And, like, you know, there's gumbo, there's jambalaya and all those other things. Those, to me, have seasons to where they're appropriate and where they make the most sense. Like, you ain't going to catch me having a bowl of gumbo in New Orleans in July.
Mid-July, yeah.
Right. But you give me a good fried shrimp po' boy, I'm set no matter when it is. January through December, 12 o'clock p.m. to 12 o'clock a.m. I don't care. I'm happy with the po' boy.
Yeah, that's a good one. Po' boys are delicious. Mine is just give me about 10 pounds of crawfish.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's an undefeated one too. That's for certain. And I don't mind having to work for it either. Like, that's
absolutely
okay.
Not.
Like, that's totally fine. I'll take that too. Yeah, that's a good choice.
I love it. Yeah. Well, I love crawfish, but I cannot. It creeps me out to pull them apart. So somebody does have to do that.
Somebody's got to peel it for you.
Yeah, someone's got to do that.
That is a more common thing than I think the people of Louisiana are willing to admit.
Come on, people.
But I have like quite a few friends that I will, when we go out for a crawfish bowl or something like that, I'll help do some peeling for them.
Look, that's a good friend.
I mean, I would do it for you after I ate my 8 pounds alone.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You put your mask on before you help the others, right? Like,
absolutely. All right, Ross.
I'll take care of my crawfish.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great 4th.
Of course. Y'all take care. Stay safe. Talk to you here soon. Appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you. I love crawfish. I did not know that you wouldn't.
I'm weirded out about it. But it's not the work because I love crab legs. Like I'll crack that, no problem. But they creep me. I don't like things like I'm not a big fan of shrimp either. You know that. But especially if it still has those little like leg things on it, I'm like, ew. I don't want to see it like that. I don't want a full fish to come out in front of me. It creeps me out.
All right. Well, we learn something new about Taylor every day. We have her tangent on the other side. We'll also bring you today's Terminix Pest of the Day. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Dan Hicken.
Well, I'm a genius at making a fool out of myself. Always finding new ways to do it.
Jeff Prosser.
I found that if you have a goal, that you might not reach it. But if you don't have one, then you are never disappointed.
Mornings on 1010XL.
And I got to tell you, it feels phenomenal.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Ready to ride the waves? Best Bet St. Augustine is turning up the heat with our Summer Splash promotion. We're giving away over $40,000 in cash and prizes, including a brand new 2025 Yamaha Wave Runner. From now through August 8th, every hour you play poker or table games earns you an entry to win. It all leads up to the grand prize drawing on August 9th. The more you play, the more chances you have. Don't miss your shot to make a splash this summer. Visit bestbetjacks.com for all the details. That's bestbetjacks.com.
We've all seen great overtime games and thrilling finishes, but when it comes to having a big time, knowing when to say when is key. Budweiser reminds you to win the day and night by designating a driver. That's a victory every time.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's The Mangler.
Get the real story from people who know the beautiful game best. The Coaches Show, presented by Sporting Jacks with Cole Pepper, Sporting Jacks head of soccer Mark Warburton, and Sporting Jacks women's coach Stacey Ballum. Tuesday nights at 6
on 1010 AM.
These days, guys who go engagement ring shopping have a really good idea of what she wants.
I was looking for something very specific. My wife shared some notes with me with what she was looking for.
Meet Jacksonville's Richard Skinner.
I did some research online. I called around the city. I shopped at other stores.
But Richard found the best deal, the best ring, the best customer service at locally owned Beard's Diamonds.
We did shop around that stone and that particular setup with different jewelers, and Beard's was able to come in significantly lower. It was a no-brainer.
But way more than the price, it was truly a beautiful ring in a custom setting with a hand-picked, large, dazzling emerald-cut diamond. Literally breathtaking.
Oh, yeah. When she saw it, she couldn't talk for about 30 minutes. Her eyes got all watery and her face got red, and almost had a panic attack.
So don't make her settle for a chain store ring. Get something special that reflects her unique style, taste, and personality at Beard's Diamonds.
It's a one-of-a-kind piece.
Beard's Diamonds, Jacksonville's only locally owned direct diamond importer.
I'm the hero.
At the St. John Town Center.
The SEC and the ACC will face off in Jacksonville at the 81st TaxSlayer Gator Bowl game December 27th at 7:30 p.m. Join us for Saturday night football in prime time at the bank. Preferred locations and pricing available now at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com.
Hey, Hicken
Hicken here for my friends at Zero Res. Man, I love the cleaning freaks. This week only, we salute the 4th. Zero Res offering 25% off all services. That's right, a 4th off for the 4th through the end of this week. So book it now, man. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It spells the same. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit DreamFindersHomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to DreamFindersHomes.com for more details.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a fight for the last slice of pizza? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Wago Glass is clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life.
We're in all our patriotic feels today. We've had some Toby Keith. This, of course, Lee Greenwood. We've had some Zach Brown Band. I guess there's a theme here.
Yeah.
I added country songs to the playlist. That's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, very shocking. I love this song, though. This song, I used to cry when I was a kid listening to this song.
I get that.
My mom had a whole CD at the time, and it was just like a CD of different patriotic songs, and this was one of the ones on there, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we would play it all the time because that's just how my family is. But we would blast that in the car, and the whole car is just like singing, and I'm crying in the back. It's like, yeah, very emotional.
Core memories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I cry at every national anthem.
Yeah, me too.
For sure. And sometimes, based off of where we live, we can hear the Fletcher High School's national anthem, and I'll get teary-eyed even though I'm not even there. Which is funny. We did have a correction to your shrimp.
Oh, yes. Somebody, because if you missed it, I said I can't take apart the crawfish. I don't like the things that I can still tell what animal they are when I'm doing it. Aside from crab legs, I guess I can still tell that, but maybe because it's a hard shell, it doesn't like creep me out as much. But like the crawfish, I can't do. If you bring me out a whole lobster still with the legs, I'm not doing that. But I said, or the shrimp, I said, because they have the little leg-like things, and somebody, 7293 on the text line said, Taylor, they aren't leg things. They are, in fact, legs.
Yes,
so
those are the
thank you for
legs.
clarifying.
So, yeah, Taylor wants her shrimp already peeled with her cocktail
wanna know.
sauce. All right, time now for Taylor's.
Veins out. Get it out.
Time now for Taylor's tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
Okay, this one may shock some people because this is not a topic that I usually bring up, but we're going to chat a little bit about the WNBA. Only because they had recently announced expansion teams that they are going to be adding to the league. It interested me immediately because I think it was like Detroit, Cleveland, and I can't remember the third right now. But it was kind of cities where you're also like, okay, those aren't even the bigger cities. And I saw a couple comments from the WNBA players, kind of not really mocking it, but mentioning like Philadelphia, I think makes more sense. But Cleveland and Detroit, I'm not so sure. But I also don't know. Maybe they do have the fan bases up there. But
they have NBA teams, so I think that makes
that's why. Yeah. And so it was just interesting to me because we already talk about how the WNBA has issues with being able to support itself in general, and especially its players when it comes to paying the players the way that, or the amount that some feel like they believe to be paid. And so Caitlin Clark's the big one right now. The value that Caitlin Clark has brought to the WNBA it's not helping her money at all, even though she has brought a lot of money into the WNBA. And it's very interesting.
Not a salary.
Her salary hasn't gone up, So I was reading an article about it, and that's what it made me think. So the problem that kept popping up recently with the WNBA is that 40% of the money goes to the WNBA, 42% goes to the NBA, and 16% goes to investors in the 2022 capital raise. That's how they kind of started to divide everything. So that prevents the players from making too much money because they're only getting like 10% of the league's revenue. And that is a problem. If you're telling me that now at this point, players like Caitlin Clark are bringing more fans to your sport, then the players should probably make some more money, and we should adjust that split. For example, the NBA gets 50-50. Players get 50%, everything, and then the rest is divvied up between the 50%. And I get it. The argument is always going to be, well, the viewership and all of those things. But the viewership has clearly climbed in the WNBA since Caitlin Clark has got there. So you may want to reevaluate this, whether it's on a year-to-year basis, at the end of the year, value however you want to do that.
The NFL, by the way, 48%. So very close
to the 50-50. The league announced, as I mentioned, they were expanding to 18 teams by 2030. And so it's just kind of weird to me to talk about expanding a product that you haven't even really made consistently recognizable, and you haven't really solidified the current product you even have, and you're already adding teams. And so it as I was reading through, there's a lot of ins and outs to all of this. Obviously, when you're adding teams, they get money because they are adding expansion teams get money, obviously. So there is getting more money poured into it. So there's some wins in it, but I still think the players are losing in this situation, and I could see the players eventually being like, hold on, why are you guys making more money as a league, but we're not making more money as a player?
Yeah, their salaries are a pittance in comparison to other leagues.
Yeah, and I think because Caitlin Clark, for example, she's making $84,000 a year. That is her. That's not including her Nike deal or any of that stuff, but her salary from the WNBA is that much. And then another thing that stuck out to me too is because I was reading a stat, and so Phoenix, who is 12-5 right now, has 5 rookies in its rotation, 4 of whom were undrafted and so they're massive parts of this thing, but people don't know who these people are that they're cheering for. And now you're building more rosters. So now you have to fill more rosters of players that now we don't even know more of these. So it doesn't really make sense to me because I just don't feel like it's established enough to expand yet. And maybe we'll see that. This is up to 2030. So maybe in the next 5 years, it does continue to grow. And Caitlin Clark's, and we've seen more of them now be added. I'm trying to think of the other. What's the one this year that she just broke the record of that Caitlin Clark had with the points scored? Paige Beckers. Yeah. Maybe players like that will continue to grow. But for me, it's just interesting to expand something that you haven't even figured out how to make it work how it is yet.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know if the expansion is necessarily if this is the right time either, because you and I obviously don't pay that close of attention to it. But I will say, if there's ever a time to use your momentum, when Caitlin Clark is healthy and playing, now is as good a time as ever, because she is by far the most popular, or at least the most famous athlete when it comes to that sport.
Yeah, and like you and I had talked when all of this, when she got drafted and everything was booming and crazy, and it was all of this talk about the WNBA, how long does it last? And I'm fascinating to see, are we still talking about Caitlin Clark and WNBA and Angel Reese and these players in 5 years the way we are? And if not, then that's going to hurt bad, because now they're adding more teams and they're having to fill rosters and pay more players on a product that we don't even know is going to be where it's at right now in 5 years.
Yeah, somehow, some way they have to find the attention of people outside of just the star and Caitlin Clark. Yeah. And you have to have people that want to tune in every single game. Basis. Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know necessarily how they do that, but you've got to have more viewership. That's what leads to those bigger network contracts, TV contracts. And that's when you're talking.
The money really comes in.
Yeah, real money. All right, we've got lunch to give away.
We do. Let's say lunch to Chick-fil-A We have a free lunch, so give us a call at 641-1010. I'll say caller number 3 gets lunch at Chick-fil-A today.
I love it. Happy 4th early, everybody, and whoever wins the Chick-fil-A lunch. One segment to go. I'll bring you today's Terminix Pest of the Day on the other side, and we'll cool down. You are listening to 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
1010XL. Proud to live in America.
Ready to add some value to your day? The everyday deals at Sonny's have got you covered. Right now, you can get the pork big deal for 10, the pork and rib combo for 12, all you can eat ribs for $19.99, and our new loaded barbecue potato for $11. Available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pit masters since '68.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
When the heat is on and we really need to show that we really care, do it with a full arrangement from Kuhn Flowers. This is ET, and let's make their day better than yesterday. Online at kuhnflowers.com since 1947.
He thinks he knows what he's talking about.
Of course.
Find out if he does.
Is there anything else we need to know?
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles.
First half champion Jumbo Shrimp are home this weekend at VyStar Ballpark. Don't miss the biggest fireworks show of the season tomorrow. Gates open at 5:30 for our Independence Day celebration, presented by Ascension St. Vincent's. Saturday, the first 2,000 fans through the main gate on Georgia Street get a Nolan Ryan Jacksonville Suns bobblehead, courtesy of Miller Electric and Arlington Toyota. Sunday is a Forever Vets Dog Day on Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. What's better than beer? Cold beer. Put your company logo on a custom koozie. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Jacksonville, Hickens calling it. Checkmate Coating, my MVP. Tough, slick floors that dominate any space.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
Where is the deepest canyon in the United States?
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The deepest canyon in the United States is Hell's Canyon along the Oregon and Idaho border, about 8,000 feet deep at some point.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Fence problems? The old one falling apart and leaning over? Well, if it's time for a new one, call Duval Fence today at 260-4747 for a quality job. Restore the look and privacy you expect. Trust the experts. DuvalFence.com.
If your house feels like a Florida swamp and your thermostat's just throwing out suggestions, then it's time to call Duck Duck Air Conditioning.
They showed up fast, fixed it right, and even cleaned up after. My house is finally chilled, and so am I.
Whether your AC needs a quick fix, a full replacement, or just a little TLC, Duck Duck Air Conditioning has got you covered with fast and honest service. Call 904-862-6769 to get your cool back, or online at duckduckac.com. When your AC is stuck, call the Duck.
Hey, Hicken here, and you know I'm going to talk about skin. Yeah, it's hot outside, folks. The oven is on. Temps are in the 90s, and it's only getting hotter. I love the summer, but my skin doesn't. I do my best with dry-fit shirts, big floppy hats, plenty of water. My secret weapon, though, the screen. Sunscreen. I use it regularly. Maybe you should as well. Look, I've also been seeing docs at Peaches Dermatology for years, and my skin thanks me for it. I'm telling you, it could save your life. Book your appointment today at peachesdermatology.com.
It's hurricane season. Protect your home with 904 Gutters with a Z. That's right. Z as in zone defense for your home. Water damage hits hard. 904 Gutters with a Z hits back harder. Search 904 Gutters with a Z and make the right call.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Time to cool down with our many thanks to everyone here at 1010XL who put the cookout on.
Yes, that was delicious. If you know me, you know I love a good hot dog. And I need to go get another one now.
You don't wear earrings. Mm-mm. You're not a jewelry person. But I was at a store recently, and they had
some hot dog ones.
They had hot dog earrings, and I of course thought of you, but I was like, she doesn't wear earrings, so there's no point in buying these for her.
I've seen them pop up on like ads on my. That's how all my social media knows I love hot dogs also. But they popped up, and yeah, I don't even have my ears pierced anymore. I did when I was younger, but my ears are very sensitive and would get infected with like everything. So I was like, it's not even worth it. I wish I did because I love earrings, and I would definitely get some hot dog earrings. At least for occasions, you know? Like the 4th of July tomorrow would be perfect.
Right, or going to a baseball game, like you wear hot dog earrings. Well, speaking of hot dogs, time now for today's Terminix Pest of the Day. If you have any sort of issues around your home or your condo, your apartment, whatever it is, if you have any issues with pests, with termites, certainly they can come and take care of those for you. They take care of Everbank Stadium, VyStar Ballpark, VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena, and of course my house as well, because they're the best. You can find Terminix online, TerMinix.com. That's Terminix.com. They will take care of all of those issues for you like they do for me. Well, Taylor, I'm not an anti-PETA person in general. Like I think that animals deserve, an organization to stand up for them. That part's perfectly fine. However, PETA for tomorrow's Nathan's hot dog eating contest is going to try and encourage people not to do the, as they call it, glizzy engorgement, which I just had to say the word glizzy because it's one of your favorite words. But yeah, a spokesperson for PETA, there will be several people from PETA that will be kind of protesting the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest tomorrow. Most people by this point in time know Joey Chestnut is back after a year off because he was representing a brand that was not hot dogs. It was meatless. Well, the PETA people will be also encouraging people to enjoy a flavorful 4th that is animal friendly. They do not want people to, and I get should anyone ever eat that many hot dogs? Probably not. But it happens once a year. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
Yeah, his average number that's just popped up, his average number of hot dogs eaten is 66.5. That's a lot of hot dogs.
It's crazy, and it's in 10 minutes. I never actually watch
it. The glizzy goat.
Yeah, we're always out and about at that point in time, so I'm never locked into the television when Joey Chestnut does that. But certainly, we'll see it on social media, and it's crazy. He dunks the bread in the water and then he wolfs it down.
It's honestly insane. I can't even come close to that, obviously. I wouldn't want to. I feel like eating that much hot dogs. If I ate that or even tried to eat that many hot dogs, I'd never want a hot dog again. Also and true. He does this at least once a year in this, but you have to train for it also. So you have to have other days where you're eating this many hot dogs, which is just insane to me.
Training for anything like that is wild.
But I'm sorry, PETA, I don't think this is going to affect Joey Chestnut eating his hot dogs.
Yeah, but it is ironic that a year ago he wasn't able to participate because of the brand management. As far as your favorite 4th of July food, it's just easily hot dog.
Yeah, probably. I feel like 4th of July is one of the ones where it's just very cook burgers and dogs and then have the chips and the pasta salads or potato salad, whatever you get. It's very that almost every place you go. So I love grilled anything, if you're doing steaks, if you're doing hot dogs, if you're doing burgers, if you're doing chicken, whatever. I like all of that. Seafoods too. I wouldn't mind even seafood. We just did over the weekend. We did we just did oysters over the weekend and sat around on the fire steam the oysters. Something like that I would also enjoy too on a day like the 4th of July because you can kind of just munch on them throughout the day. And that's the best thing because when you're out, you're drinking, you're socializing, whatever, just have something that you can kind of quickly eat and move on.
I love raw oysters. I don't love cooked oysters that very much, but I love an oyster roast, the idea of it, but I'm I just want the raw oysters.
Right.
You don't actually
Which we had raw ones too. I like raw and steamed and grilled. I don't like them fried. The fried messes with my head. I think the texture thing of having crispy then gooey on the inside.
I can understand that.
But every other way, give me an oyster and I'll eat it.
I understand that completely.
What's your favorite?
Completely.
A burger?
Probably a good solid cheeseburger topped with lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup,
all the stuff.
Get onions. If you want a slice of onions, put those right on there. I'll eat all that.
We had last year Duval Doom. We had the contest I think it was last year. All my years are running together, but last year I believe it was, and we had the contest, and Duval Doom came and pulled up his whole setup that he does at the Jaguars tailgates, and his burgers were delicious. So shout out to Duval Doom, because he had like the sauteed onions and like blue cheese crumbles and mushrooms, and I was like, that is the type of burger that I do like. If you add those extra things, that's when I'll eat the burger.
Yeah, that's like a really good steak. I feel like has all that stuff on it, and then even add that to burgers, even more delicious. All right, RJ, I want to ask you about DeAndre Ayton to the Lakers. He signed a 2-year deal. We certainly have talked a lot of NBA free agency this week, but how you feeling about DeAndre Ayton being added?
Which DeAndre Ayton are you getting?
That I can't tell you.
If you're going to get a guy who's going to be focused and locked in, just due to the fact that he does have I believe it's a player option the next season. So if he has a great year in year one and believes that he's a max level player, there could be another team that will be willing to give him, let's just say, 2 years for $25 million instead of the $8 million that he would be getting from the Lakers if he were to opt in that next season. If he's not a guy in which is going to be locked in and focused, certainly going to be a long year for the LA Lakers. Just hopefully this is not the last move Rob Pelinka's thinking about. I mean, Jake LaRavia and DeAndre Ayton, and you say that's your summer. Grab your torch and pitchforks if you're a Lakers fan. But I mean, for you needing a big man, and you would have been going the much older route with the free agents in which you had, DeAndre Ayton is clearly the best choice, but certainly just have to see which DeAndre Ayton you're acquiring. And if this is a guy that's going to be saying, hey man, look, I'm all in, I'm focused, I want to be a part of a winning situation. I do believe that this can be a team that I can help win. And also, this is an organization and a market in which I can showcase my abilities to other teams in the league. So this is helping me, helping you, helping us. What a great world we live in. Certainly just something that we have to see. But I mean, if you're the Lakers, I'm not sitting down on the couch and saying, this is our summer, we got everything figured out.
Okay. So very similar to when all Jaguars fans were calling for a third pass rusher and nothing happened, and that we saw the lack of that pass rush depth at certainly different points over the last 2 seasons has hurt once Arden Key went to the Titans. I just saw the name and I thought, well, that's interesting when it comes to Ayton and the Lakers. A couple college football notes, Taylor, that I wanted to hit. We have some recruits that have committed, and so I'll start with Florida State. Yesterday, they got a 4-star defensive lineman, Ernest Rankins. He committed to FSU yesterday. Like I said, he's 6'5", 275 pounds. He is a defensive lineman, ranked the 9th defensive lineman in all of Georgia, so good job to Mike Norvell. And like we always say, with the caveat, of course, for Florida State and Florida too, you have to have a good season in order for these recruits to stay committed to your university. And then on the Florida side, one yesterday, one today, 4-star defensive lineman Kendall, I don't know how to say his last name, but I'm going to guess Jervell. He is a top 80 player in 24/7 Sports. And then just a few minutes ago, any Gators fan knows, if they follow Billy Napier on social media, he always tweets out the sunglasses emoji.
He does something.
And so anytime they get a recruit, he tweets that out. And so a few minutes ago, he did tweet that out, and it means that the Florida Gators landed 4-star cornerback CJ Hester. He's 6'1", 195 pounds from Titusville, and he picked Florida over Georgia, Syracuse, and Iowa. So both of those guys obviously need big seasons.
Yeah.
Norvell and Napier.
Yeah, it is. Mike Norvell, I mean, shout out to him recently, because I saw a stat last week that he had locked in since June 1st, I think they had said he had 14 4-star commits, and then now that's another 1 or 2 that he's added. So he's at like 16, 17 in a little over a month that he's been able to lock down. Now, obviously, like you said, there's other parts to that, because once they get you, we've seen guys make that move before they even get to the school, and then once they get to school with the portal, now you can leave. But I do think that when we've talked to anybody about Florida State this offseason, him being able to get this to work when it comes to the recruiting side is really important because he got a little bit lucky that year with the portal and how many of those guys hit in the portal and what that looked like for them.
He wasn't lucky. He was good.
Yeah. But then last year he brings all the portal guys in and none of them hit, I don't think. So which one is that? Like, which Mike Norvell is it? Was last year just the off year where unfortunately things didn't hit and things fell apart? Or was it the year before? And so I think we are now seeing that he did have to adjust his approach a little bit and can't go so heavy on expecting all the portal guys to hit every single year and mesh with the team right away. And
sure, you have to have the right balance between high school recruits and transfer portal players.
And that's why last year, week 1, I remember Nick Saban being on College Game Day, and he said,
cussed.
Yeah, he did cuss. That was so fun. He said that at that time because they were like, oh, Alabama, they kind of made a joke at him saying, well, if you can pay a player X amount of money, and he was like, you still have to pay the right player.
Right.
And that stuck out to me so much because we do say that so much of like, well, yeah, Ohio State paid all of their players, but they also paid the right players, and that doesn't always happen. Obviously, it hasn't transferred in every school and every program, and so I think that the way that Mike Norvell is approaching this now is kind of the combination of the two instead of just being like, oh, we won with portal guys, so I'm going to go heavy on these portal guys. You still have to recruit and you still have to develop.
Yeah, for sure. We talked a little bit of Notre Dame football with Ryan Roberts earlier, and you and I realized, haven't had that conversation of CJ Carr, the fact that that's Lloyd Carr, who used to be the head coach at Michigan, his grandson, but now obviously going to be starting at Notre Dame. What have you heard about him? Because big shoes to fill, massive shoes to fill for Carr.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes to last year, there were a lot of people that weren't actually in love with Riley Leonard by the end. It was, he used his legs a lot. He doesn't have it's not a very good arm. CJ Carr does. CJ Carr has more of the arm that you would want a quarterback to have. Riley Leonard was tough as hell, though, and that's one of the things that you had to give him credit for. Going back to week 1 against Texas A&M last year, we won mainly defense, but because of what Riley Leonard could do on the ground and getting those 3rd and 1, being able to get the first down in those situations. We saw in the national championship that first drive that was like 98 yards and almost all Riley Leonard on that drive. And that's the type of player he is. So you appreciate him for that. And obviously getting to the national championship, he did enough to get you there. But I don't know if people feel like it's impossible to surpass that. A lot of people are really high on CJ Carr. The one worry I keep hearing is because he had a shoulder injury, and the shoulder injury has kind of lingered for a little while, and so now they're like, how healthy is he? Is he ready? He hasn't really been, he's just now really getting to work out with the team. And so there's some of those, and there's always just the Notre Dame really hasn't in a while at least had that quarterback that you could use that word elevate them. So it will be interesting because not only they've lost their defensive coordinator, who was a big part of a lot of wins last year too, and Al Golden, and then a quarterback trying to figure that out too. So it's going to be a little scary, and starting off with Miami week 1 down in South Florida too.
Yeah, the two of you definitely feel differently, you and Leon, about Al Golden. So let's say hello to Leon.
Now, the 2-minute drill on 1010XL.
Yeah, Al Golden was the head coach of Miami once upon a time. Didn't do so well.
It was so...
He was great as defensive coordinator, though.
I said that the other day because I said I was talking about the defensive coordinator side, but I said a great coach. And a Miami fan on the text line was like, Miami fans are like throwing things at you right now saying he's a good coach. I was like, sorry, I should have clarified great defensive coordinator.
Right. Yeah. Like if someone said Jim McElwain was a great coach, I'd be like, no. Although I don't even know if he was even a good coordinator. But yeah.
He came from Penn State, all right?
Golden, yeah.
Yes, Al Golden.
Yes, yeah. Leon, you are not dressed in your patriotic garb. Will that be tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, tomorrow. I'll be.
Because Joe's in patriotic garb like Taylor.
He was. He was in there. He was in patriotic yesterday, actually. His wife bought him that nice shirt. So.
Love it.
Yeah, red, white, and blue.
What does your 4th of July look like?
I'm probably going to hijack somebody's barbecue place.
There you go. That sounds good.
Go to somebody else's house and let them do all the cooking and get a plate.
You just get to eat and drink and relax. Yeah.
If Leon
sounds like a good
says,
plan.
I'm hijacking your barbecue, every single person saying, come on down. I'm not going to stop you, Leon.
Yes.
I love it. What are y'all doing on the show today?
We're going to get into a little college football. We're going to look at the top players coming into the 2025 season.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about the NFL has this list of the best players with the number, like
the draft picks.
Yes.
The best
player when their number, like 0-1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about a different list.
We're going to try to figure out when is the Jaguars going to get one.
Okay. I saw Benjamin Solak of ESPN put out the best player at every single draft pick. So 1 through 262.
Oh, that's cool.
1 was Peyton Manning. 262 was Brock Purdy. No surprise, I feel like, for Brock being there.
Whenever Tom was picked, with the number I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, the number for sure. The Tom Brady was in the 6th round. And then the Jaguars did have one player, but only one player.
Who was it?
Gardner Minshew. Picked at 178.
178, pretty good, yeah. I was picked 11th in that. Michael Irvin counter.
He ruined that.
Yeah, he stole it that way. Yeah, that way.
Dang it, Michael Irvin.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Leon.
All right,
Happy 4th.
Thank you.
Taylor, what does your 4th look like?
Yeah, I honestly don't have. I'm kind of waiting for weather because it looks like it's going to rain, but it looks like it may be good until 3 or 4. So if I can get some sunshine, I'll be at a pool or beach and then kind of go from there. If not, I'll be drinking somewhere, probably eating also more barbecue
or hot dogs.
Yes,
that'll work too. Yeah, our plan is to go for a bike ride in the morning, and then, like you said, weather dependent for the rest of the day. But everybody, stay safe out there. Enjoy the 4th. And we will talk to you on Monday. For Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. Like I said, we'll be back on Monday, but don't go anywhere.